Appropriate attention and inappropriate attention. Dear students, let me share with you in closer detail about the method of appropriate attention that the Buddha taught so that you understand it thoroughly and apply it correctly in your everyday lives. The Buddha said, "Those who don't understand me will use my methods wrongly." If you do not understand how to apply appropriate attention, you will create tension in your mind and use autosuggestion incorrectly. As a result, it will cause delusions and hallucinations, and using it in this way is no different from chanting mantras like the 48 great vows of Amitabha Buddha. You have to understand that appropriate attention means to use autosuggestion in order to replace a state of being with another state of being. State of being in this context refers to the present condition of your mind and body. The Buddha said that all phenomena come into play through attention. The Buddha also said that mind precedes all mental states, which means that whatever our thoughts are, it will result in a corresponding mental state. So the purpose of appropriate attention is to create thoughts that remove the creation of harmful thoughts, thoughts that bring suffering, and create a state of well-being. So in essence, appropriate attention is to replace an unwholesome state of being with a wholesome state of being. The Pali word from which the term appropriate was translated is Yoniso. Yoniso in Pali means to the womb, birthplace, or origin, that is the essence or core of a particular matter. So why was this word Yoniso used? It is because we have to understand correctly the origin of a particular thought or bodily feeling that arises that causes suffering in order to create the appropriate thoughts through autosuggestion to bring the mind to a wholesome state of being. We are replacing an unwholesome state of being caused by harmful thoughts or bodily feelings with a wholesome state of being, a state of liberation, by creating the appropriate thought. This is called appropriate attention. For example, when someone says or does something that we don't like, we get angry. Right at this moment, we should turn inward into our mind. We see that we are angry. Then we should use autosuggestion and say, "I know that this anger causes me to suffer, so I repeat to myself this. Letting go of this anger, I breathe in. Letting go of this anger, I breathe out." As you repeat these words in your head, combine it with your breathing in and out in order to let go of this anger just as it arises. In the same way with your cravings, when you observe that your mind is craving for this or that, right at the moment when the thoughts of craving appear in your mind, use autosuggestion and repeat the following thoughts in your mind in order to relinquish the thoughts of craving. Letting go of this craving, I know I breathe in. Letting go of this craving, I know I breathe out. And then breathe in and out, feeling the craving leave your body through your breath. After using autosuggestion to relinquish craving or anger, let your mind naturally return to a state of serenity. This means that we have just used appropriate attention in order to replace the states of craving, anger, or delusion with the state of serenity. Think of this simile. You are holding a cup of dirty water, and you want to drink clean water. In order to do that, you have to first empty the dirty water, then pour in the clean water. So that is why when your mind is immaculate, then your bodily actions will also become immaculate. And this is what the Buddha meant when he said, mind precedes all mental states. Appropriate attention aids in your journey of practicing Buddhism, right from when you begin to practice the method of the four right exertions, which is to restrain and destroy defilements, and to cultivate and preserve goodness, all the way to when you are practicing mindfulness on the four domains in the later stages, diligently using appropriate attention without a moment's pause. Every minute, you must turn inward into your mind and body and observe the conditions that are arising, appropriately using autosuggestion in order to restrain and destroy defilements, which are the 5 hindrances of attachment, aversion, delusion, pride, and doubt, and to cultivate goodness, which is to make the mind serene and shining bright in ethical conduct, and preserve goodness, which is the state of mind that remains unshaken, serene, joyful, and carefree. Elder Tonglag has taught us those autosuggestion phrases that I mentioned in the examples earlier, so that we can use appropriate attention at the right place at the right time, in the right state of being, and not use them indiscriminately, randomly, or by copying others. When retreating to a secluded place to practice, Elder Tonglag also said, don't rush into practice without first understanding appropriate attention. Otherwise, you will sit all day repeating to yourself, mind, be unshakable, and risk causing tension to yourself and start hallucinating. You have to understand that the phrase, mind, be unshakable, should only be repeated when our mind has really become unshakable, after having let go of everything and the mind having become calm and serene. This is when we retreat to a quiet and undisturbed location to sit with our back straight, with the phrase, mind, be unshakable, in front of you, and then proceed to use autosuggestion. This is what is meant by leading the mind into the way, as opposed to the incorrect way, which is forcing the way into your mind. When we feel obstructed and anger arising, and we just sit there and repeat to ourselves, let me be kind and loving towards all beings, or mind, be unshakable, all we are doing is suppressing the mind with autosuggestion. The harmful state of being hasn't been eradicated yet, while we force ourselves into another state of being. This causes a lot of tension. If we use autosuggestion to suppress the mind in this way, after a while it will induce hallucinations and delusions. And when we stop practicing, we will lose control of ourselves, and we can burst out into anger at any time, sometimes even stronger than before. We will also never be able to advance our practice into mindfulness of the four domains. That is why appropriate attention is to turn inwards in order to observe our current state of being, so that we can apply autosuggestion using the appropriate phrases towards the source that is causing suffering and eradicate it right then and there, whilst following the breath to let it go, bringing the mind back to the state of being naturally serene. Then, to finally direct the mind back to the state of serenity, we can repeat this phrase, being serene and joyful, I know I breathe in. Being serene and joyful, I know I breathe out. When practicing mindfulness on the four domains, there is a stage when we use the four right exertions to observe our body, feelings, mind, and dhammas, and look out for the subtle conditions that cause suffering and relinquish them. If the suffering occurs in the body, we can contemplate impermanence and then practice relaxation meditation to calm the body down. If suffering occurs in the mind, contemplate impermanence, suffering, and non-self in order to relinquish it completely. The same goes for suffering when a feeling arises. When we contemplate on one of the four domains, all four domains become purified. As the four domains become purified, the 7 factors of awakening appear. The 7 factors of awakening is the food for the wisdom of liberation, the threefold knowledge. If you do not understand how to practice appropriate attention, you will end up regurgitating the autosuggestion phrases all day without actually tending to your mind and knowing what is arising. Elder Tongla called this copycat practicing. You will end up creating tension for yourself and becoming delusional. You will become entranced by these hallucinations and visions, fooling yourself that you have become liberated. But in reality, when suffering comes to you, you will still suffer the pains of life, sickness, old age, and death. I am saying this because I am starting to see you guys making up your own unusual ways of using appropriate attention. That is, making up phrases such as, I vow to do this, I vow to do that, I vow to love, I vow this or that, and then even starting printing books and distributing to others, telling people to recite these phrases, and afterwards repeating these phrases all day long. How is this any different from arduously reciting mantras like the 48 great vows of the Amitabha Buddha that makes people who recite it become delusional? You have turned the Dharma of the Buddha that Elder Tongla taught into Amitabha Tongla. When you misunderstand the Buddha's teachings, you end up inventing your own methods by your own imaginings, like what the previous Buddhist patriarchs did. In the past, the Buddhist practitioners misunderstood what appropriate attention actually meant, which is actually autosuggestion, replacing one state of being with another state of being. And because this is misunderstood, methods like chanting the 48 great vows of Amitabha Buddha was created for Buddhist followers to practice, and then thinking that you will become a Buddha by reciting these chants. What actually happens is that you will fall into delusion. So here you guys are today, also inventing your own practices, turning Elder Tonglak's teachings into Amitabha Tonglak's teachings. The Buddha told us to diligently use autosuggestion, in other words, appropriate attention. He didn't teach us to use inappropriate attention. What is meant by diligently using autosuggestion here is that you should diligently watch your mind and your body and then turn within and create the appropriate thoughts and phrases. Diligent does not mean you repeat these thoughts and phrases as a means of suppressing or covering up your suffering. If you do so, this will no longer be a practice that eradicates suffering. This will not be the right practice, but only become a delusional one. I have given a teaching called The Path to Samadhi, the Buddha's 49 days under the Bodhi tree. Those who listen to this teaching attentively shall understand why the Buddha taught appropriate attention. See you, my dear students. Phap Luu.